your achievements, you would actually make a ripple effect where other people are creators and have an achievement themselves. But then what I would say is like, yeah, but if that is the case, you're giving people too much credit. You're assuming that when you give people the ability to make mistakes and to actually just be who they are, that they won't take advantage. I mean, we live in a time where freedom and the ability to be who you are is more praised than anything, and yet still we live in a shithole. But then what I would say is like, yeah, but that's because you're looking at it from a conservative and you miss out the fundamental foundation of what brings about a stable person, which is the emotional framework. If a person is emotionally not nourished, then obviously he won't be able to grow and have this clear-headed and focus that you have, and you're taking that for granted. Like when you grew up and when you had all this love from your parents, you assume that this is a prerequisite for everyone and everybody has it, but that's not true. So being able to give that to people is essential. Then what I would say to myself is like, yeah, but that doesn't stop the damage that these people are causing, and you have to do something about that. The reality setting shows that you have to make sure that you stop the damage, and at the end of the day, reality overrides emotions anyway. You can say all these things, you can talk about emotional nourishment, or at the end of the day, if you don't have food, you starve. But then if I would have to answer that question, I would say like, yeah, but your ability to be and to do what you do is only because of the emotional nourishment you've had. And if you wouldn't have had it yourself, you would have been part of this problem that you're now trying to combat. So being able to actually truly help people to grow emotionally is fundamental to even your way of going about life. But then what I would say, my older version, I would say like, yeah, but to which extent can you even overcome that? To which extent, sometimes you have to just look at reality for what it is and just accept, okay, these people might be broken. And then what I would tell him, and that's where I would hit my previous self, I would say like, but that's because of a lack of understanding. It's because you don't know how to help people to emotionally nourish them, and that's why you don't trust them. And that's when I would get hit. I would say like, but so people on a fundamental level want to be good, and if they're emotionally nourished, they would just be like me. And I would say like, yes, it's because of a lack of awareness. And I would then ask myself, but how do you do that then? Because I've been trying so much. I've had people working on love, even in this building. But then I would say like, no, you haven't had people work on love and self-trust and all this. You have had people work to be productive and use this love and all this development as a way to become productive. But the problem with that is that you're not truly creating an environment without judgment and without expectations when you tell them this is what you need to do. People are not truly building on their own self-love and their trust when they have this gloomy expectation layer on top of that forces them to be productive. And then they will never to give themselves to actualize, to be creative, because they constantly have this checkup of like, oh, Daddy Athene might kick me out or whatever. And that's the thing, like the problem is when it all arises, all the issues and all the doubt that I had when it comes down to reality was mainly a failure myself. Was my own failure. It was not the failure of people because of the way they are. It was a failure on my part because I had a lack of understanding, and it made me doubt in people's essence of being good. And as a result, what I did was I even warped it to the extent where I thought it was a choice. I thought it was a choice because I can choose, but that is just a result of me being inside my head. When people have a low awareness, does a child choose to be evil? I would say, of course not. Well, imagine these children staying children against the more rational part of the brain. That doesn't add up, right? But then I would say like, but their emotional part, so of course they will just use their reason to find what they lack emotionally. They will never get fully, truly developed. And that's the thing, like being able to emotionally nourish people allows them to grow from within, to get to a point where they become more clear-headed and clear-minded, and then change and doing good comes naturally. And that's really something that I didn't realize because I didn't know how to do it. And this is fascinating part. If you grow in awareness and you grow into understanding things and emotionally you're more and more fulfilled and you start more using cognitive empathy and really understand things more from conceptualizing things, you assume that you can just explain to people what the problem is, just as much as I'm doing right now. I used to assume that I could just explain you guys the problem and it's fixed, but that's love yourself, but that requires you to really follow the emotions. In order to even do so, it requires to be understood, to be accepted. Of course, I'm trying to do the best thing right now to explain these things and to help you guys in order to really trust in yourself and really believe, because even people that don't want to help themselves, it's a symptom. It's because on a fundamental level, you feel like, why help yourself? You're not worth it. So getting love and getting this understanding and getting someone that truly listens to you on an emotional level can really help you open up. That's why I also said that I would love to be there for you guys, because now I understand it. I understand what you guys need, what you guys lack. Some of you, not all of you. And I understand how I can help in that regards. Although I do think that these streams might be helpful, because if you guys really look up to me, or some people look up to me, I'm just telling you guys, it's important to understand that there ain't nothing wrong with judge yourself. Allow yourself to be and allow yourself to make some mistakes, and just don't run away from your fears. Try to experience them, go at them, and don't label yourself, don't judge yourself. Because even in my language, when I say don't run away, maybe when you then play games you go like, oh, I'm running away, I'm bad. No, just experience the emotion, go try to find it out where it comes from, and by experiencing them you can overcome so much. That's what I realized, and once that is done, and when you become more conceptually oriented and focused, not only will action come automatically, but also a lot of the insights that I talk about, you will just come up with it themselves. And then even if you feel like having a big impact or working with like-minded people, you just come over and apply and have an impact here. But all these things come naturally. It's not like I have to apply. I have to go there, or I'm. A sense of responsibility is something that grows from.
Subscribe to youtube.com/AtheneWins. Watch the live stream at twitch.tv/AtheneLive and follow The Real Athene on Snapchat. The Athene Real Talk podcast explores controversial ideas to stimulate debate and active thinking. These ideas do not always reflect Athene's personal views. Welcome to the Athene Real Talk podcast.
He has been called the best gamer in the world, hands down.
World famous gamer and philanthropist Athene.
Gaming for Good, it's called, has raised more than $20 million.
Using his notoriety to raise money for charity.
On activism, science, culture, and self-development.
Proud to have him in the studio today. I would not want to take you on in a video game.
Bronzoli says, Athene, going with understanding, accepting helped me a lot. A great insight. But I have a question. If you interact with a close person like a friend, and that person acts in a way which is likely causing harm to me, and maybe him, but he won't see it because of his reference frame, can you still just go with understand the way himself? Or is there a situation to be confrontational and direct, assuming otherwise this might never become visible in his reality? Well, Bronzolis, that's a really good question. And it's a very hard one to answer. Because, of course, it depends from situation to situation. And the extent to which I can give you an answer to this question is the extent to which you understand your own emotions. Because if you go about life and you start understanding yourself and you give it a try, by making it come true to your actions and your behavior, people will even wonder how come you went through this change. And then you are in a better position to explain to your friend how he can also try and go about it the same way. But the problem is that you're looking at the stream, you trust me, you take the time and initiative to really lay down in your bed and really try and figure out harder. My advice, and what is cognitive empathy, is basically putting yourself in his shoe, trying to understand why he does what he does. The problem though is that cognitive empathy gets broken when the person is a threat to you. Because when he's a threat to you, you have to protect yourself, and cognitive empathy requires you to lower your defenses and be truly in his world. So I understand that if the situation is one where he really harms you, the best way you can go about it is like you would tell a child in a respectful manner that you really care for him and you really want the best for him, but that certain of his behavior is not okay and that it harms you. You can really say that in a very respectful manner. If he doesn't listen or if he gets angry or whatever, you can just, with really kindness and authority, and explain it again. And if the person is in a position where he actually has power over you, then slave day. Nowadays, we live in a world where we're more free. So if he has control over you, then you can first wonder, how can you become independent? And becoming financially independent really allows you to be more free. That's why it's such an important thing in our development to be able to live by our own self on our own feet, because else our parents have quite a lot of control over us. So gaining control over your own life is very crucial. So then maybe that's the reason that he even can harm you, because you're in a position where he has control. So how do you gain control? Always try to find how you can change the equation to a position where you have control and act upon that, because when it's not in your control, you can feel desperate, you can feel anxiety, you can feel fear. But when you find the control in yourself, like for example, like I'm gonna become financially independent, find a job or whatever, then you can resolve it even without having a friend. I know I'm going quite deep into this, but I know this is a situation a lot of people can resonate with, and that's why I thought this explanation might help. Always try to see how you become the solution, and really if there's obstacles or if there's things that allow you to not believe you can do it, follow the emotion, listen to the emotion, try to understand it, and by doing so you can maybe undo it. Because a lot of people might think, but I can't take care of myself, or I feel worthless. Go deeper, figure it out, because you can. You can do stuff, you can have an impact, you can take care of yourself. You guys have great potential. So just Nico says, Athene, I get what you say about understanding where people come from and the sense of peace you feel where you understand that people aren't bad based on the stuff they say or do, but scared of hurting. But I find it takes a lot of focus perspective. It is not like this for you. Did you just make that realization one day and then you stayed within that frame of mind effortlessly since? It comes with time, man. Like, you just start realizing that really blaming people just doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help you, it doesn't help the person. Like, understanding gets you so much further. And of course, sometimes you have to protect yourself. Sometimes you have to, protect yourself against other people's really negative influence. But at the same time, you don't have bad blood. You don't take it within you and go like, oh, this guy or this. You don't process it with hate. You just understand it and you see it for what it is. That's what I try to do all the time. And it really gives me this mindset where no matter what someone did to me, even in the past, some people have backstabbed me like crazy.